Imagine what happens when one of the most influential CEOs in the world decides to go undercover and work incognito in his own factory. Elon Musk's secret mission at Tesla revealed surprising truths about the company, truths that could change everything. It was an unexpected decision, which took everyone by surprise. Its executives, the employees on the factory floor, and, of course, the entire world. Elon Musk, the mastermind behind Tesla, looked in the mirror one morning and traded in his casual style for something much more ordinary. The uniform of a Tesla assembly line worker. With safety glasses on and a lunchbox in hand, he practiced something he rarely had to do: blend in. The idea came to him during a late-night brainstorming session. Reports from the factory floor were full of complaints about long hours, unexplained delays, and unexpected frustrations. To a man obsessed with precision and progress, these inefficiencies were unacceptable. Elon's usual solution, a series of meetings and top-down orders, seemed inadequate. If he wanted the truth, he needed to experience it firsthand. "I need to know what they see, what they feel," he told himself as he pulled on his coveralls. He could hear his aides discussing logistics in the next room, security risks, media exposure, but none of that mattered. It wasn't about image or publicity. It was about understanding. Jumping into the public eye that morning was easier than he'd expected. Tesla's Gigafactory in Sparks, Nevada, was in full swing as hundreds of workers filed in. Elon felt a wave of shame as he watched the routine unfold. Exhaustion was written on some faces, while easy camaraderie was visible on others. No one gave him a second look as he joined the line heading to the main floor. Inside, the energy was palpable, a cacophony of machinery and human effort. Conveyor belts whirred, robotic arms operated with mechanical precision, and workers moved between stations, their movements synchronized but desperate. Elon took it all in, wondering how many stories, struggles, and triumphs lay hidden within those walls. His cover story was simple: Dan, a career technician who had transferred from a smaller factory. With a little training and a lot of attention, he had managed to keep his true identity hidden. As he headed to his designated station, his heart quickened, not with fear, but with excitement. For the first time in years, Elon Musk was just another cog in the machine. "It's okay, Dan," shouted his supervisor, a burly man with a tired look named Todd. "We don't have time for slow steps. Come here and follow Eric. He'll show you the ropes." Eric, an energetic man in his 30s, gave Elon a curt wave. "New guy, huh? Hope you're ready. This isn't exactly a walk." His tone wasn't hostile, but it wasn't welcoming either. It was the tone of someone who has seen many new employees come and go. Elon smiled. "I'll do my best." As the hours passed, Elon found himself immersed in a world he had only seen from the conference room. The tasks were physically demanding, requiring focus and speed. Sweat dripped down his arms as he adjusted wires and tightened screws. Every move was scrutinized by Eric, who had little patience for mistakes. By the time the work was done, Elon's hands were sore and his feet felt like blocks of ice. But more than the physical stress, it was the stories he heard that stayed with him. A single mom working to pay the rent. A young man saving to go back to school. A veteran quietly dealing with old wounds. This was the heart of Tesla, the people who made its visions a reality. And they were so much more than just statistics on a quarterly report. But Elon wasn't there to just observe. He was there to learn. As day 2 began, the challenges on the Tesla factory floor began to show. The morning air was thick with anticipation as Elon headed out onto the factory floor for day 2. The initial novelty of his secret mission gave way to a stark reality. The work was hard and the pace was relentless. But that was why he was there. To experience what his employees endured every day. Eric wasted no time putting him to work. "You're on the assembly line today," he said, handing Elon a pair of gloves. "It's simple. Bolts on the floor. One every 3 seconds. No time for hesitation." The line was moving faster than Elon had anticipated. A blur of metal and movement. At first, he fumbled. Bolts slipped through his fingers as the conveyor belt pulled the part out of reach. His mistakes didn't go unnoticed. "Come on, Dan," Eric shouted down the line. "You're slowing us down. We don't have time for this." It wasn't just the physical demands that surprised him. It was the culture. Whispered conversations all around him. Snippets of frustration mixed with humor. Did you hear about the new software update? It's messing up the robots again, a nearby worker said. Yeah, and guess who's staying behind to fix it? Another replied with a dry laugh. By midday, Elon's muscles were aching, but his ears picked up more than he expected. Workers shared stories of inconsistent scheduling, faulty equipment that sped up production, and constant pressure to meet targets no matter the cost. Beneath the camaraderie was a quiet frustration, something no corporate report could capture. Elon sat alone in the break room, taking in the hubbub around him. A group of workers milled about among the vending machines, discussing a recent accident on the factory floor. Third one this month, one of them said, shaking his head. If they don't fix that elevator soon, someone's going to get seriously hurt. The words hit Elon like a punch. As he sipped his coffee, he realized that the factory's problems weren't just about productivity. They were about people. The costs were higher than he'd imagined. Later that day, he witnessed his first major failure. One of the robotic arms on the line malfunctioned and stalled, bringing production to a complete halt. Alarms blared as supervisors scrambled to contain the chaos. Eric crouched beneath the machine, grabbing a tool. This thing has been acting up for weeks, he grumbled. But fixing it properly takes time we don't have. Elon offered to help, his years of engineering experience finally finding a way. Together, they managed to get the robotic arm back on the line, but not before losing nearly an hour of production. The delay reverberated through the line, drawing stares from workers further down the line. As the day came to an end, Elon couldn't shake the feeling of tension that hung over the factory. For all the innovation that Tesla represented, it was clear that people on the factory floor felt helpless, their voices drowned out by the desperate rush for progress. Failures were becoming impossible to ignore. But as Elon delved deeper into the rhythms of the factory, he came across something even more unexpected. Moments of brilliance that could change everything. By his third day on the job, Elon had begun to settle into the rhythm of the factory floor. The tasks no longer felt unfamiliar, though the tension was ever present. His fingers bore calluses from repetition, and his shoulders ached in ways he hadn't felt in years. But it wasn't the physical weight that weighed most heavily on him. It was the human weight. The flaws in Tesla's seemingly efficient system unfolded before his eyes. Conversations that had once seemed trivial now carried weight. The faulty robotic arm was not an isolated incident. Other machines had problems too, small hiccups that were ignored in favor of keeping the line moving. Workers compensated for these errors with speed and improvisation, often at the expense of safety. Dan, faster! A voice shouted as a panel tore loose from its mounting. Elon instinctively stepped back, catching the heavy sheet of aluminum before it hit the floor. His heart pounded as he put it back in place. A nearby worker, a young man named Luis, gave him a nervous smile. You're fast. We need more hands like that. But the moment wasn't lost on Elon. It was more a symptom of a deeper problem, an overstretched workforce. The break room that afternoon was quieter than usual. A heated argument had broken out earlier about shifts being reassigned without warning. Elon sat with Luis and a few others, listening as they vented their frustrations. They keep saying we're part of this big mission, Luis said, gesturing vaguely at the Tesla logo on the wall. But it doesn't feel that way. It feels like we're just replaceable parts. Another worker chimed in. The worst part? They don't even listen. We've been telling them about that broken elevator for weeks. Do you think anyone up there cares? Another added, with a hint of disdain. Elon felt a pang of shame. These weren't just employees. They were the mirrors of Tesla, the ones who made dreams come true, and they were being pushed to the edge. Later that night, another accident brought the point home. A worker named Tasha was injured when a piece of equipment broke, sending a metal fragment flying into her arm. Supervisors rushed to help, but the look on her face wasn't just pain. It was frustration. I told them this thing was acting weird, she said through gritted teeth as her arm was bandaged. No one listens until it's too late. Elon's mind raced as he walked back to his station. He had created Tesla to be the pinnacle of innovation. But here on the factory floor, it felt like the heart of the company was failing. The workers weren't just fighting machines. They were fighting a system that seemed to devalue their worth. When his shift ended, Elon stayed behind, ostensibly to help clean up, but really to think. The problems were clear, but what could be done to solve them without disrupting the delicate balance of production? He had come here looking for answers, and now he was drowning in questions. But it was just when the problems seemed insurmountable that Elon began to notice something extraordinary, a spark of ingenuity among the workers themselves. By the end of the week, Elon had earned the trust of his coworkers. He was no longer the rookie who stumbled over everything. He was Dan, someone who worked hard, listened, and lent a hand when needed. This camaraderie allowed him to see something extraordinary, the ingenuity of the people who kept Tesla running, often in spite of the system. One night, as the last shift was getting ready to call it a day, Elon noticed a small group camped out near a malfunctioning station. The robotic molding arm had been malfunctioning for weeks, its accuracy degrading to the point where it was nearly unusable. Rather than wait for a repair crew, the workers took matters into their own hands. Luis, the young man Elon had helped earlier, was leading the charge. Using a hodgepodge of spare parts cannibalized from other machines and a healthy dose of ingenuity, they were able to work around the defective molding arm circuitry. The machine was back up and running, and the molded parts were just as beautiful as they had been the first day. "Not bad for a bunch of amateurs, huh?" Luis said, smiling as he wiped the grease off his hands. Elon couldn't hide his surprise. "How did you guys do that?" he asked. Luis laughed. "You spend enough time around these machines, you start to see patterns. Managers don't have time for this stuff, so we figured it out ourselves." The ingenuity didn't stop there. In the days that followed, Elon witnessed similar moments of brilliance. Workers redesigning tools to make their tasks easier, optimizing assembly sequences to save precious seconds, even reprogramming a robot to avoid delays. These weren't just complaints or grumbles, they were solutions born out of necessity. But the disconnect was evident. These innovations rarely reached management's attention. Supervisors were too focused on hitting targets, and workers didn't feel empowered to share their ideas beyond their immediate teams. The turning point came during an informal meeting in the break room. A group of employees gathered to brainstorm solutions to recurring problems on the line. The conversation was lively, full of laughter and heated debate, but there was a clear sense of purpose. "We could probably save 5 minutes on each step if we adjusted the treadmill time," one worker suggested. "Yes, but who will listen?" replied another, with a tone of discouragement. "We've been through this before." Elon intervened for the first time. "What if someone heard? What if you had a direct line to the top?" The room fell silent, the workers exchanging surprised glances. "That's a good idea, Dan," Luis said. "But that's not how things work around here." Elon didn't argue, but the gears in his mind were already turning. He had seen enough. The workers were not the problem. They were the solution. All they needed was a voice and a platform. It was time for Elon to reveal who he really was. The question was not whether they would believe him, but how they would react to the truth and what would happen next. The morning meeting at the factory was routine. Rows of workers shoulder to shoulder, supervisors handing out updates and instructions over the sound of machinery getting ready to start. It was the perfect time for what Elon had planned. He sat in the back of the room, still wearing his worker's uniform. His safety glasses were pulled tight on his head. Luis walked over. "You okay, Dan? You look nervous." Elon gave him a tight smile. "Yeah, just thinking about something big." When the supervisors finished, he stepped forward, his heart pounding in a way it hadn't in years. Of all the work meetings and product launches he'd led, this moment felt different, fresh, unfiltered, and personal. He cleared his throat. "Before we get started, I need to say something." His voice cut through the murmurs of the crowd, turning heads. "My name's not Dan." A ripple of confusion rippled through the room. Luis spread his arms wide. "What are you talking about?" Elon took a deep breath. "My name's Elon Musk. I've been working alongside you guys for the last week, seeing what life is like here, what you guys go through every day." For a moment, the room was silent. Then the reactions came, a mix of laughter, disbelief, and nervous chuckles. "No way," someone muttered. "Is this a joke?" But Elon wasn't joking. He removed his safety glasses, straightened his posture, and continued. "I came here because I needed to understand what's really going on in this factory, not through reports or meetings, but through you guys, because you're the ones who make Tesla what it is." Luis looked at him, his expression a mix of shock and realization. "Wait, are you serious? You're really him?" Elon nodded. "Yes, and I've learned more in the last week than I have in years. I've seen the challenges you face: faulty equipment, unrealistic expectations, and a system that doesn't always value your contributions. But I've also seen your ingenuity, your resilience, and your ability to solve problems in ways no one else could." The room fell silent. The workers exchanged glances, their skepticism slowly giving way to curiosity and, for some, hope. Elon's voice grew firmer. "What I've seen this week is something I cannot ignore. You are not just employees. You are innovators, problem solvers, and the heartbeat of this company. And starting today, things are going to change." A hand rose from the back of the room. "What do you mean?" a woman asked. "To start," said Elon, "we're going to create a direct line of communication between the shop floor and the leadership team. Your ideas, your concerns, need to be heard, and we're going to resolve the equipment issues you're dealing with." The workers began to murmur again, this time with a note of cautious optimism. Luis stepped forward, still looking incredulous, but now smiling. "You really want this?" "I do," Elon said, "but I can't do it alone. I need your help to make this place as innovative and efficient as we all know it can be." The room erupted in applause, not the polite kind reserved for lectures, but genuine, unfiltered appreciation. For the first time, many of them felt seen. The revelation was just the beginning. Now came the hard part, turning promises into action and proving that leadership is not about being at the top, but about being there for those who build the foundation. The days that followed Elon's revelation were nothing short of transformative. True to his word, he didn't walk away after making promises. He stayed, listening to workers, addressing their concerns, and setting change in motion. The first order of business was to address the safety issues. The faulty elevator that had injured Tasha was immediately repaired, and a safety analysis team was dispatched throughout the plant to identify other issues. Workers who had previously resigned themselves to dangerous conditions now felt empowered to speak up. Elon also implemented a simple but revolutionary system, an open innovation forum. Workers could submit ideas directly to management, with no red tape or middlemen. Within days, submissions began flowing in. Luis's suggestion to adjust the timing of the conveyor belt was implemented, shaving precious minutes off the assembly process. Tasha proposed a redesign for a clunky tool, reducing worker stress and increasing efficiency. Ideas that had previously died in the break room now had a direct path to the top. Morale in the factory began to shift. Workers who had previously seen themselves as interchangeable cogs in a giant machine now felt like vital contributors to Tesla's mission. The changes weren't just felt on the factory floor. They resonated throughout the company. For Elon, the experience left a lasting impression. When he returned to his executive role, he took the lessons from the factory with him. He spoke candidly about his time undercover during a company meeting, emphasizing the importance of humility and connection. "A week in the factory taught me more about leadership than years in the boardroom," he said. "Innovation doesn't just come from the top. It comes from all levels, especially those closest to the work. As leaders, our job is not just to guide, but to listen, empower, and adapt." The lesson was not lost on anyone. Leadership is not about commanding from the top, but about understanding the people who make progress possible. Elon's undercover mission became a defining moment in Tesla's journey, a story that employees shared with pride and that inspired other companies to rethink their approach to leadership. For workers, they never forgot the week Dan joined their ranks. For many, it was a reminder that their voices mattered and that change was possible, even in a place as vast and complex as Tesla. This story isn't just about one man or one company. It's about the power of listening, the importance of recognizing the value in each individual, and the strength that comes from working together. If you found this story inspiring, consider subscribing for more stories that remind us of the human side of innovation. Thanks for watching. Call to action. If you like this video and it brought some value to you, watch the next one. The next video will bring even more value to you. Leave a like. Your comment is very important. Subscribe to the channel, recommend this video to a friend, and don't forget to watch the next video.